Let us now start with a discussion of the revisionary test paper. It's RTP, revisionary test paper discussion of taxation. The same is applicable for November 21 exams. Okay, so the exams will be conducted in December. Institute has released the revisionary test paper for this particular exam. The income tax law, what has been stated is the income tax law as amended by the Finance Act 2020, including significant notifications, circulars issued up to 30th of April 21 are applicable for November 21 examinations. You are aware that the Finance Act 2020, which is applicable for the assessment year 21-22, the same is applicable for the November examination. Okay. The relevant assessment area for November 21 examination is AY 21-22. The October 2020 edition of the study material is based on the provisions of this particularly Finance Act 2020, and hence the same is relevant for November 21 examination. And they say that the significant notifications, you can go through the statewary update of the institute. So this is the instruction which has been provided to us. Now, first question is a case scenario question. Let us start our discussion the same. Mr. Animesh, an Indian citizen, he is an Indian citizen, aged 61 years, has set up his business in Canada and is residing in Canada since 2009. Now, he has been residing in Canada since 2009, so he becomes basically, he is non-resident. He is non-resident. Now, he owns a house property in Canada. He owns a house property in Canada, half of which is used by him for his residence and half is given on rent. Converted rent is 12 lakhs rupees per annum. So, same will not be taxable in case he is a non-resident. Let us see further information. Then he purchased a flat in Delhi for rupees 42 lakhs on 31st of October 2018. The stamp duty value was rupees 35 lakhs. He has taken a loan from Canara Bank for 34 lakhs for purchase of this flat. The interest on loan amounted to 3,14,000 and principal repayment was rupees 80,000. The principal repayment will be eligible for deduction under 80C. Now, Animesh has given this flat on a monthly rent of 32,500 since April 2019. The annual property tax of the flat is 40,000, which is paid by Animesh whenever he comes to meet his parents. Now, Animesh visited for 124 days during the previous year 2021, and before that he has visited in India for 366 days during the period 1416 to 31st of March 20. Now, he is basically Indian citizen coming to India for visit to India, and in case his total income excluding what? Income from foreign sources, exceeds 15 lakhs, exceeds rupees 15 lakhs. Okay. Then his stay in India exceeds 120 days during the previous year, but does not exceed 182 days. And in preceding 3-4 years, he has been in India for 366 days. Then he becomes a not ordinarily resident. Now, let us see how much income is there. So, first is we can compute the income from house property because that house is in India. So, he has given it at a monthly rent of 32,500. So, 32,500 into 12. So, that is 32,500. That is 3,90,000. Less municipal taxes paid. Municipal tax paid is 40,000 rupees. So, that is 350. Then this is the net annual value then less statutory deduction will be provided, that is 30%, 1,05,000 rupees under 24 clause A, and interest on borrowed capital. Interest on borrowed capital is how much? He has paid interest of 314. So here the income from house property is negative 350. Income from house property is negative 69,000. Then he has house in Ranchi which was sold in May 17. In respect of this house, he has received arrears of rent received. So the arrears of rent received will be taxable. $296 less statutory deduction. Statutory deduction is provided at rate of 30%. 296 into 30%, 88,800. 207,200. That will be minus 69,000. So minus 69,000. That is the income from house property is 138,200. 138,200 is the income from house property. Profit from business in Canada, then interest on bonds of an Indian company, of which 50% is received in India. Now here 50% of 620 is received in India. 620 into 50% is received in India. So 620 is interest on bond, 50% is received in India. That means 3,10,000 is received in India. Then income from apple orchard in Nepal given on contract, and yearly contract fees is 5 lakhs, which was received by Animation Nepal. This is received outside India. So let us see what is the residential status is. So these information has been provided. Further see, Mr. Animesh has sold 10,000 listed shares at 480 per share of an Indian company on 15th of September. He has acquired the same on 5/4/26. The cost of acquisition is 100 per share. And STT was paid both at the time of acquisition as well as transfer. So the same is covered under section 112A. Now here, what is the sales consideration is 480 per share, and its shares are traded on recognized stock exchange, and its highest price is 300 per share on the date, okay, on 31st of January 2018. So we have to take the FMV as on 31st of January 2018. We have to take what the fair market value as on 31st of January 2018. So in this case, since they are traded on 31st of March 2018, we have to take rupees 300 per share. 300 per share will be taken. Highest price will be taken. It's the fair market value. So here the sale consideration or this, whichever is less, that will be 300, and 100 and 300 cost action will be higher of the actual cost or fair market, this 300 rupees. Here cost action will be 300. We have taken under 112A. So LTCG will be what? 480 per share minus sale consideration minus 300. That is what the cost action. Sales consideration is 480. Cost action is 300. Number of shares is what? 10,000. So it is 180 into 10,000. So the long term 10,000, basically long term capital gain will be 180 10 to 10,000, 18 lakh rupees. So 18 lakh rupees is the LTCG. So now they are asking, based on the above facts, choose the most appropriate answer. So 18 lakhs is the LTCG. Okay. Now his Indian income basically exceeds 15 lakh rupees. Now he is satisfying the conditions. Which condition? That he is in India for 120 days or more, and during the previous year he has come to India for visit to India 120 days or more, and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year, and 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. Hence he becomes what? Resident, but not ordinarily resident, because his Indian income exceeds 15 lakh rupees. So his answer will be resident but not ordinarily resident. Now the income which is taxable under the head house property, we have already computed the income which will be taxable under the head house property. That is 138,200. This is the income which is taxable under the head house property. 138,200 will be the income which is taxable under the head house property. Okay, it is 138,200. Now what would be the amount of capital gains that would be taxable in hands that would arise in hands of Mr. Animesh for transfer of shares of A Limited? So we have already computed the capital gains. Capital gains is rupees 18 lakhs. Capital gains is rupees 18 lakhs. In excess of 1 lakh, 1 lakh is exempt. In excess of 1 lakh rupees, the same will be taxable under section 112A. So it will be amount of capital gains computed will be 18 lakh rupees. Now what would be the total income of Mr. Animesh for AY 21-22 if he does not opt to pay tax under section 115 BAC? So let us see, we are now required to compute the total income. Here total income, we have computed income from house property is how much is the amount of income from house property, that is 138,200. Then interest on bonds received in India, Canadian bonds received in India, Canadian bond received in India, it will be taxable 50% of 620 or 610. It is 620 into 50%. That is 310. That is 3 lakh and 10,000 rupees. That will be taxable. Now LTCG is 18 lakh rupees. So it is 18 lakh rupees is the LTCG, plus 310 is there, plus 138,200. That is GTI 22,48,200 less ATC deduction amounting 80,000 rupees. As we have seen, he has repaid this loan, housing loan, that will be deductible 80,000 rupees. So it will be 21,68,200. His answer will be 21,68,200. Then compute the manner to say minimize his tax liability for Animesh for the relevant assessment year. Now here long-term capital gains is there 18 lakh rupees. Long-term capital gains is 18 lakh rupees. In excess of 1 lakh, it is taxable at rate of 10%. So it will be 1 lakh and 70,000 rupees. 170. And the balance income will be how much? 3 lakh and 368,200. Balance income is 368,200. Now since he is a senior citizen, he is resident and attained the age of 61 years, he will get the basic exemption limit of 3 lakh rupees for his other income. So on 3 lakh rupees no tax will be paid. On 68,200 the tax liability will be at rate of 5%. 68,200 is the other income. So 368,200 minus 3 lakh is the basic exemption limit for him into 5% is 3410. So the total tax is 173,410. 173,410, 4% is the HEC at rate of 4%. So 173,410 into 4%, that is 6936. It is 180,346. Rounded off will give you what? Rounded off will give you the liability of 180,350. So his tax liability will be 180,350. So this is one question which we have discussed here. Then question number 6 is what? Mr. T. He is an Indian citizen, resident in India, earned dividend income of 4,500 from company which has declared it on 1/10/2020 and paid in cash to Mr. T. Now the dividend has been paid in cash here. What are the tax implications with respect to dividend in hands of T and Indian company? Now here under section 194, no TDS if dividend is paid to individual. If dividend is paid to individual, otherwise than by way of cash, by any mode other than cash, by any mode other than cash, and when the same does not exceed rupees 5,000, when the same does not exceed rupees 5,000. But here, since the dividend has been paid in cash, tax will be required to be deducted at source at rate of 7.5%. So here such dividend is taxable in hands of Mr. T, that is correct, and Indian company is required to deduct tax at source at rate of 7.5%. Because of COVID, the rate has been reduced, otherwise the rate is what? 10%. So answer will in this case will be what? Dividend is taxable in the hands of the shareholder and the company will be required to deduct tax at source at rate of 7.5%. Basically, company has paid dividend in cash, no company pays dividend in cash. Now, Mr. X is a working partner and Mr. Y is a non-working partner in XYZ partnership firm. XYZ partnership firm's accounts are audited for the relevant financial year. What is the due date of filing the return of income of Mr. X and Mr. Y for the assessment year 21-22? Now, even whether a partner is a working partner or whether a partner is a non-working partner, where the firm's accounts are required to be audited under 44AB, the due date of furnishing the return will be what? 31st of October for both the partners, whether is a working partner or whether is a non-working partner. So the due date will be what? 31st of October for both Mr. X and Y. Next is Mr. Arpit is an employee of MNO Limited. He has contributed 161,280 towards NPS and similar amount is contributed by the employer. So under 80 CCD subsection 2, employer's contribution is eligible. Under 80 CCD subsection 2, employer contribution is eligible up to 10% of salary. So employer has contributed 161,820. His basic salary is 80,000 per month. That is 960. DA is 40% of basic salary forming part of retirement benefits. DA 40% of basic salary forming part of retirement benefits. So DA is forming the part of retirement benefits here. So it is 960 into 40%, that is 384. That is 13 lakh and 44,000 rupees. 10% will be how much? 134,400. Only 10%. Why not 14? Because he is not a central government employee. This is employer's contribution eligible for deduction under 80 CCD subsection 2. And he is contributing 161,280. Then he has also paid 55,000 towards the LIC premium. So here in 80cc D, 80cc E, limit will be what? 150 plus 50 for NPS. So it will be 2 lakh rupees. It cannot exceed what? 2 lakh rupees. 2 lakh is that limit. That is 80C plus 80cc C plus 80cc D subsection 1 plus that will be 150 and 80cc D subsection 1B will be 50,000 rupees. So since his contribution is, he has already contributed 55,000 toward the LIC, then he will take the balance amount for NPS, that is 105 NPS here. Okay, and remaining will be under 80 CCD 105 95 only. 150 na 95. This is 80 CCD subsection 1. This is 80C. So it is 150 and balance under 80 CCD subsection 1B. So the deduction under in aggregate will be 2 lakh rupees here. Beside this, LIC premium has been paid for himself and wife, and medical insurance of 35,000 is cross-checked for his mother. This 35,000 is eligible under say 80D. Okay. So amount of deduction which will be admissible will be how much? They are asking how much amount of deduction will be admissible. So it is 134,400 plus 35,080D plus 2 lakhs. Are you getting? 2 lakhs is for 80cc E. Employer, this is 80cc D subsection 2 and 35,000 is 80D. So it will be 369,400. It will be 369,400. So the employer's contribution is separately eligible at rate of 10% of the salary. Salary means basic salary plus DNS allowance. So the employer contribution. Employee contribution qualifies under 80cd. Addition to that, in excess of 150, whatever additional contribution is there, the same qualifies under 80ccd subsection 1b. So C plus CCC plus CCD in aggregate, it cannot, subsection 1 cannot exceed 150, which we have considered here. Next is, let us see, a building was acquired on 1/4/1995 for 20 lakhs, was sold for 80 lakhs on 1/6/2020. Stamp duty value is 85 lakhs. So stamp duty does not exceed what? 110% of actual consideration. We are discussing the provisions relating to 50C as we have seen. So what will be the full value of consideration in such case? 80 lakh rupees will be the full value of consideration. The fair market value of the building is 25 lakhs and the stamp duty value on the same date is 22 lakhs. So we'll consider the since FMV exceeds SDV, the cost of action will be what? Stamp duty value here. The cost of action is 22 lakh rupees. 22 lakh rupees is the cost action. We are required to determine the capital gains. The full value of consideration is 80 lakhs less ICOA index cost action, that is 22 lakhs divided by 301. So divided by 100, sorry, into 301. Divided by 100 into 301. So it is 22 lakhs. So it gives you 66 lakhs and 22,000 rupees. That is the index cost action. It's a long-term capital asset. So we'll be getting the long-term capital gains. That is 13 lakhs 78,000. LTCG here will be what? LTCG will be 13 lakh and 78,000 rupees. LTCG will be 13 lakh and 78,000 rupees. Next is 10th question which we are discussing here. Mr. Vikas received gold ring worth 60,000 on occasion of his daughter's wedding from his best friend Vishnu. So since it has been received on occasion of daughter's wedding by Mr. Vikas, same is taxable under section 56(2)(10). It is not received by daughter, but since it has been received by him, it is not his marriage, it is his daughter's marriage. Then Mr. Vishnu also gifted gold chain to Kavya, daughter of Vikas, for 80,000 rupees. On the occasion of marriage, the same has been received. Same is exempt in hands of daughter Kavya. Why? Because it has been received on occasion of her marriage. So yes, what they are saying, would such gifts taxable in hands of Mr. Vikas and Miss Kavya? Bola, yes, the gifts of gold ring and gold chain is taxable. No. Such gifts are not taxable in hands of Mr. Vikas nor in hands of Kavya. That is also wrong. Then value of gold ring is taxable in hands of Vikas. That is correct. Okay. And gold chain is not taxable in hands of Kavya. That is correct. Value of gold chain is taxable in hands of Kavya, but not gold ring is not taxable in hands of Vikas. So answer will be C, because Vikas is receiving the same on occasion of on occasion of daughter's marriage. So in hands of daughter it will be exempt, but not in hands of Mr. Vikas. So these were the 10 MCQs which we have discussed, including the case scenario MCQ, that were applicable for the direct tax portion. Now these are the comprehensive questions which you can go through the same. In case of any difficulty, you can ask us. Then let us now go to the indirect tax portion. So indirect tax portion, let us see the indirect tax portion. Now this is the indirect tax portion. Now what is been provided is all questions should be answered on the basis of the provisions of GST law. All the questions, they have to be answered on the provisions of what? GST law. Here GST law as amended by Finance Act 2020, which have come into force up to 30th of April 21. Significant circulars up to 30th of April 21. GST rates for goods and services mentioned in various questions are hypothetical and may not necessarily be actual rates leviable on those goods and services. Further, GST compensation cess should be ignored in all questions wherever applicable. Now, look, MN Charitable Trust is registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act 1961. It is registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act. It's a charitable trust. The trust is conducting 3-day residential yoga camp among people on occasion of International Yoga Day for advancement of yoga. So advancement of yoga is coming under the ambit of charitable activities, and it is charging 7,500 per person, inclusive of stay and food. So that will be exempt from GST, because yoga, it is coming under the ambit of charitable activities. It has been defined in the charitable activities exemption. Trust is also conducting programs for advancement of education of persons aged 65 years in metro cities. They are not residing in rural area. In case if they are residing in rural area, same is exempt. But they are residing in metro, it will be what? Taxable. For metro, will be taxable. A nominal fees is charged for the same. Then trust received the following donations during the month of September. They have received the donations also. Solid Steels Private Limited donated RO water plant to trust costing rupees 75,000, displayed its company name in RO system installed at the premises of trust, donated by Solid Steels Private Limited, trusted by all. Now this donation partakes character of what? Advertisement. Because they have given the company name, it partakes the character of advertisement, it will be liable to GST. We have seen a circular in this regard. If it is linking the company name along with the donation, and it is a sort of advertisement that is a company, this is trusted by all. So therefore, it won't be getting the benefit of the circular, which say that if you donate something and in memory of father or in memory of mother, you write something there, which is not for the purpose of advertisement. So in that case, the donation so received by trust will be exempt. But here it is in form of advertisement. Then Mr. Prasanna, a lawyer, donated chairs to the trust costing 25,000 and Love All is printed on the chairs donated by him to trust. So that is not for the purpose of advertisement. That will be what? Not liable to GST, since it does not tend amount to consideration. For any service. Okay, so it won't be liable to GST because he is just writing Love All. He is not writing anything. So that will be getting the benefit of the circular which we have discussed in exemption chapter. Then the following are the details of GST payment made by firm. GST of 1,75,000 was paid for purchase of motor vehicle for transportation of needy persons. Seating capacity include what? 13 drivers. So here the seating capacity is including driver is 13 persons. It's not more than 13 persons. It is not more than 13 persons. So as we have seen under section 17(5), credit is blocked. Here credit is blocked because the seating capacity does not exceed 13 persons. Then 245 was paid for works contract service availed from super builders for construction of trust office building. Here it is for immovable property. This is also works contract service availed for immovable property. Here also credit is blocked under section 17(5). Credit is blocked under section 17(5). Then MN Trust, Charitable Trust also owns and manages a Gurudwara. They are owning and managing a Gurudwara. It rented the community hall located in the precincts of Gurudwara for rent of 8,500 per day for marriage. Since rent is less than 10,000 rupees for community hall, this will be exempt. It also rented commercial shop located in precincts of Gurudwara for a rent of 10,000 per month per shop. Now here it is not less than 10,000. It will be what? Taxable. This commercial shop, since the rent is not less than 10,000, if 10,000 or more, the same will be taxable, which we have discussed in the exemption chapter, religious services. You can assume the trust is registered and GST on all the transactions are intrastate only. Conditions for availing ITC has been fulfilled. Now they are asking the questions based on the information given. Choose the most appropriate answer to question number 1 to 4. The following activities of trust is exempt from GST. Advancement of yoga, it is exempt. Advancement of education, it is taxable since it is for old age persons residing in urban area, as we have discussed. It's not in rural area. Since it is an urban area, it will be taxable. It is taxable. What they are asking, both A and B will be exempt. That is wrong. Neither of the activities, that is wrong. Yoga is coming under the ambit of charitable activities. Yoga camps have been made exempt. Determine the value of taxable supply in respect of donations received by trust. So one donation, 75,000 is taxable. 75,000 is taxable. It is taxable. 25,000 is what? Exempt. 25,000 exempt. So 75,000 is a taxable. Value of taxable supply will be 75,000. From the company which he has received will be what? Taxable. Then compute the amount of ITC that can be claimed by trust. These are the two purchases which have been made. ITC will be nil. ITC in this case will be what? Nil, because both the credits have been blocked under section 17.5. Both the credits have been blocked under 17.5. Then which of the following statement is or are say correct? They are correct in GST law in respect of Gurudwara managed by MM Charitable Trust. Renting of community hall is taxable. Community hall, we have written that community hall was how much? For community hall they are charging 8500. Community hall is exempt and shop is taxable. So renting of community hall is taxable, that is wrong. Then renting of community hall is exempt, that is correct. But renting of commercial shop is taxable. This is correct. Both renting of community hall and renting of commercial shops are taxable, that is wrong. Then both renting of community hall and renting of commercial shops are exempt, that is wrong. So the answer will be fourth B in this regard. Then determine the, now 4 questions were there which we have discussed. Now this is independent question. Determine which of the following independent cases will be deemed to be supply even if made without consideration in terms of Schedule 1. AB and Associates transfer stock of goods from its Mumbai branch to Kolkata depot for sale at depot. These are distinct persons. It will be coming under the ambit of supply. They are separately registered distinct persons. The same will be coming under the ambit of supply. Then Mr. Ragveer, a dealer of air conditioner, permanently transfers motor vehicle free of cost. ITC on motor vehicle is blocked. Since permanent transfer of business asset on which ITC is taken, is covered under the ambit of supply if it's made without consideration. But here ITC is blocked, it won't be covered under the ambit of supply. Then Mrs. Riddhi, an employee, received gift from her employer on occasion of Diwali worth 21,000. It does not exceed 50,000. It will not be covered under the ambit of, say, supply. So fundamentally, which is covered under the ambit of supply here? They are asking which of the following is covered under the ambit of supply. So the first transaction is covered under the ambit of supply. The next question is PZY Limited. PZY Limited is engaged in manufacturing of motor car. The company paid the amount of GST to its suppliers against invoices raised to it. So they are engaged in manufacture of motor car. Compute the amount of ineligible ITC. They are asking for ineligible. General insurance taken for cars manufactured by PZY. This is eligible. This is eligible. Buses purchased for transport of employees, 25 lakh seating capacity. 23 seating capacity for 25 lakh rupees, it will be eligible. The same is also eligible because seating capacity exceeds 13 persons including driver. Life insurance for the employees under statutory obligation, the same is also eligible. Okay. And outdoor catering services in Diwali Mela organized for employees, that is ineligible. So which is ineligible? 350 will be ineligible. Then which of the following statement is or are correct under GST, are incorrect under GST law? If the supplier has erroneously declared a value which is more than the actual value, say erroneously declared value says 10 lakhs and actual value 5 lakhs. So definitely then he will issue a credit note. Well, yes, he will issue a credit note. This is correct. Then if the supplier declared some special discounts which is offered after supply is over, same are not deductible. And he cannot issue credit note under GST. Credit note cannot be issued in this case. This is also correct. Because after they can issue financial credit note, but this credit note they will not be able to reduce the output tax liability because discounts are offered after the supply is over. Then as per the provisions of section 15(3)(b), he won't be able to reduce the output tax liability. A circular has also been issued in this regard. Then if quantity received by recipient is more than what has been declared in the tax invoice, then supplier can issue a debit note for the same. This is also correct. If he is supplied more but billed for less, then he can issue a debit note. There is no time to declare debit note. That is wrong. Same is to be declared. Same is to be declared in the month. In the month in which it is given. The same is to be declared in the month in which it is given. Okay. So which one of the statement is what? Incorrect. Fourth one is incorrect. Fourth statement in this regard is what? Incorrect. Fourth statement is incorrect in this regard. Now let us discuss one more question. Mr. Pearl is a classical singer. Miss Pearl, sorry. She wants to organize a classical singing function. So she booked an auditorium on 10th of August for a total amount of 20,000. She paid 5,000 advance. So she is a auditorium, supply of services, renting of auditorium. 5,000 time of supply arrives on 10th of August. Okay. Then classical singing function was organized on 10th of October. Auditorium owner issued invoice on 25th of November for the amounting rupees 20,000. The same has been issued, whether the same has been issued within 30 days. 30 days expires on what? 10th of November. Say 31 minus 10. 21 days for October and 9 days for November. So the invoice has been issued on 25th of November. Pearl makes balance payment on 30th of November. So since the invoice has not been issued within 30 days of completion of the event, the time of supply for the remaining 15,000 will be on what? Which date? On 10th of October. On 10th of October. So time of supply is 25th of November for 20,000 rupees. That is wrong. Time of supply is 25th November for 5,000 and 30th November for 15,000. Time of supply is 10th August for 5,000. This is correct. And 10th October for 15,000. Since the invoice has not been issued, since invoice is not issued within 30 days from completion of event, hence time of supply will be the date of completion of supply for remaining 15,000. So it will be 10th of October. Then ABC Limited has generated e-way bill on 12th of February at 14 hours. Okay. It is used for over-dimensional cargo for a distance of 20 kilometers, 400 kilometers. So for an over-dimensional cargo, it is 20 kilometers per day. Okay. Over-dimensional cargo we have seen. So it will be here, distance will be for, say, validity will be for 5 days. What is the validity period of e-way bill will expire? So e-way bill has been generated on 12th of February at say on 14, means 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So here the basically it is 12:13 midnight, 12:13 midnight. So first day will be 13:14, then 14:15, then 15:16, then 16:17, and then it is what? Fifth day will end on 17th and 18th. So 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17 and 17, 18. So it will be 5 days validity will end on what? 17, 18 February midnight. Then so these were the 9 questions which we have discussed here. So these 9 questions are MCQs which we have discussed. relating to the indirect tax portion. So this was all about the MCQs of taxation. The same will be available freely. They are available at free in our say app. You can download the app bangarsEDU.com. You can visit there. In the video sections, these videos will be available. So first of all, do these questions by your own. And in case if you find any difficulty, then you can go through these video lectures. Okay. So this was all about our discussion relating to the multiple choice questions of the revisionary test papers, which has been made applicable for the November 20, which has been released by the Institute for November 21 examination. All the best for your exams.